I mean, we're working with a different country, in a different country, and that's what we're supposed to do, so it's the best training you can get. It's been a pretty good exercise.
Helps you get a better sense of just what your job is when you're in a large exercise like this.
The ROC/American soldiers relationship is great. We got a chance while we was chilling out a little bit to learn Taekwondo with the ROC soldiers, which I thought was very nice.
Really like the people. Everybody's friendly, you know, they're all, everywhere you go, you get a hi. Haven't had anything bad to say about it.
It's a lot like back home, really, in a way, but, you know, there's different cultures. You see the people and stuff, and you realize how different it is, you know.
Welcome to Team Spirit 87, Mission Interoperability. I'm Specialist Rob Osman. For the next hour, we'll take a look back at Team Spirit 87 and all the hard work and excellent training that encompasses Team Spirit. For over 2 months, the participants of Team Spirit 87 made the hills and rice paddies around the city of Wonju their home. Much was to be gained during the exercise and a lot to be learned. But before it all began, soldiers from the 25th Infantry Division Light from Hawaii took some time to pay their respects to the brave soldiers who fought and died in the victorious river crossing during the Korean War. AFKN's Joe Connolly was there.
Although they are in Korea for a training exercise, some personnel from the 25th Infantry Division Light took time off from training to salute men from 2 regiments. In March 1951, soldiers from the 35th and 27th Infantry Regiments advanced across the Han River. The cacti and wolfhounds pushed their way under enemy fire and suffered many casualties. The commander of the 25th Infantry Division Light, Major General James W. Kreisel, praised the efforts and sacrifices of the men who fought with the 1st of the 35th and the 1st of the 27th. General Kreisel, Robert Liberty, a veteran of the river crossing, and representatives of the local Korean community laid wreaths upon the water where the fighting took place. An honor guard from the cacti fired a 21-gun salute for their comrades who sacrificed themselves for freedom. Airman Joe Connolly, AFKN News, at the memorial site of the Han River crossing.
Team Spirit 87 became official on March 29th, when the 2 major participants formally assumed operational control over their respective armies. For the Blue Force, Major General Jack B. Ferris Jr. turned over the 2nd Infantry Division to the Republic of Korea's 3rd Army Corps, Commanding General Lieutenant General Min Hyung-ba. The Commanding General of I Corps, Lieutenant General Norman Schwarzkopf, assumed the command of the Orange Forces on the very same day, taking operational control over the 25th ID Light, the 7th Infantry Division, and the Combined Field Army, as well as the ROC I Corps and the 25th ID. The formal ceremonies were one thing, but underneath all the paperwork were the basic goals that have become the very foundation that makes soldiers of completely separate commands and different nations stand together as one. Combat engineers are undeniably the first in and last out. For the 2nd Engineer Battalion, Team Spirit 87 began long before any other unit was deployed within the exercise area and ended after all others had gone home. But somewhere in the middle of all that is where the engineers are at their best.
The 2nd Infantry Division's 2nd Engineer Battalion strives to give 2ID units both mobility and counter-mobility support. But Alpha Company's 2nd Engineer Battalion has focused their attention on a different kind of support, the kind you'll only find under a bridge. Recently, Alpha Company's 1st Platoon had the task of upclassing several small bridges throughout Gangwon Province, so they'll be able to support the weight of tracked vehicles, large convoys, and any other traffic during this year's exercise.
This is very good training, very good training. It gives us in the ROC Army, along with the Katusas, a chance to join together and see how, try to make everything run smooth.
Training. In the 2nd Infantry Division, it's an everyday occurrence. You might say it's part of being a warrior. Recently, 2 platoons assigned to the division's Echo Company, 2nd Engineer Battalion, received some valuable hands-on training as they practiced docking, rafting, and bridging procedures. Bridge work requires coordination, patience, and teamwork, or else the job won't get done. And the only way to train is to load up the boat trucks and head for water. Ask any bridge crewman from Echo Company where in Korea they call home, and you'll probably get two answers. Some will say Camp Pelham, that's where the unit is stationed. Others might say the river, because you see the river rats have a saying. That is, where you find the river, you'll find the river rats.
Well, when it comes right down to the end of it, second engineers are never going to let anybody down, because when they got the ball and it's their turn to carry it, hey, they pick it up and run with it. And we get the job done, and sometimes it calls for late hours, long nights, a lot of people out there working all, just crazy hours. But at the end, you look back and you see that you got your mission completed. Hey, it's a good feeling there.
Echo Company's 2nd Engineer Battalion has been practicing river crossings. The white bands worn by some of them are indicators that they are inexperienced or non-swimmers. These soldiers are paid particular attention to by the Army divers of Headquarters and Headquarters Company 2nd Engineer Battalion. Stationed out of Camp Castle, these soldiers' mission is to provide safety swimmer support, lifeguarding during water exercises, and recovery of weapons, equipment, and, when necessary, the victim of a drowning accident. The divers must go through a stringent 6-week course at the Naval Dive and Salvage Training Center in Florida, where, besides diving techniques, they must learn CPR, depth measurement, adverse weather diving, and ice diving. Oddly enough, they must also be familiar with tanks, armored personnel carriers, and other vehicles that, on occasion, don't quite make it to the other side. If a recovery is necessary, the divers don't have to spend precious minutes trying to find a way in to save the occupants. And in this job, where time is of the essence, the divers must be ready to go at a moment's notice. The diving team primarily supports Echo Company of the 2nd Engineer Battalion, but they are also called upon by anyone else in the 2nd Infantry Division that needs their brand of aquatic assistance. They're all qualified in life-saving techniques as applicable to their particular area of expertise, a skill that does not sit idly in the back of their minds. These soldiers have many saved lives to their credit, a boast that most soldiers couldn't make, and a record that they're extremely proud of.
Team Spirit 87 was divided into 3 stages, the first being deployment. Long about the beginning of March, the troops and equipment began to arrive. Transporting cargo and vehicles is accomplished in many ways. The task of moving the most equipment in the least amount of time is handled well by the U.S. Navy's Sealift Command. They use giant ocean-going vessels called fast sealift ships. Certainly not the smallest of these ships is the USNS Pollux. This giant boat is overwhelming in size and cargo space, over 7 acres worth. The Pollux is a type of ship that allows cargo to be driven on and off, and when the ship pulls into Korea, responsibility for this task falls to the Military Traffic Management Command at Pusan. The commander of MTMC, Lieutenant Colonel Friedrich Grutzmacher, says offloading a ship that's over 900 feet long is not that difficult a task.
We are used to dealing with ships of all sizes, and our Korean nationals who we have working here in the port have been loading and offloading vessels for many years and are very experienced and good at it. We do not foresee any major problems, anything that we can't handle.
The Pollux and other fast sealift ships are constantly on standby, ready to load and deliver U.S. Army cargo anywhere in the world.
We have the labels stuck on the vehicles. They're made at the port where the ship is loaded, and they're put on the vehicles. And then we take a WAN or a laser type handheld computer outside and zip it across it, and it reads it, and we bring it down, bring it back inside and upload it to the PC or portable computer. And then we upload that to a larger computer which processes most of the paperwork.
It's been said that no job is finished until the paperwork is done.
To help finish the job a little faster, the Army can speed up the process of paperwork with a new system. It's called Logistical Marking and Reading of Symbolical Systems, or LOGMARS, and it saves an incredible amount of time in recording data. It's used by marking cargo or vehicles with a code, which is read by a portable machine that looks a lot like a walkie-talkie. Staff Sergeant Vernon Knight has worked with the system for over 2 years. He explains LOGMARS in simple terms.
It's vehicles and general cargo that are labeled with a label such as when it's on a Coke can or a pack of cigarettes that you see in a supermarket where they zip it across a little thing and it reads up how much it is.
The information is passed on to a computer, a process called uploading. A greater technology is then needed for dividing data and storing it. The 389th Transportation Department of Pusan handles this, as Staff Sergeant James Dean explains.
You put in the simplest terms, the LOGMARS system would be like a bank teller machine, your little bank teller machine, and the DAS-3 is your main computer downtown, where you have to do all the processing actually at the main terminal, this being the main terminal.
LOGMARS is a quick and convenient way of recording and storing all kinds of information, and it proves itself every time it's used.
While many of the soldiers were here in the Republic, home to them was probably inside a tent. During Team Spirit 87, tent cities seemed to pop up everywhere, but they didn't pop up by themselves. In some cases, the soldiers set them up on their own, but in others, the Korean Service Corps did the work for them, the KSCs, also known as the A-Frame Army.
In an exercise as large as this, it is nice to know that you are not alone. This is the feeling that the American soldiers get when they see the A-Frame Army. Mr. Kim Kyu-sok from the headquarters of the KSC, Korean Service Corps, more popularly known as the A-Frame Army.
The KSCs were established to support U.S. Army in Korea. During wartime, we transport ammunition, sick and wounded, construction of field fortifications, operation of supply point, building and maintaining roads and bridges, and similar other essential combat sport type operations.
The A-Frame Army built a 90-foot-long bridge near Icheon so that the heavy Army equipment could cross and advance to their defensive positions. The bridge was built from scratch. The Army used it. The A-Frame Army then disassembled it and went on to other essential missions in support of the exercise. Mr. Kim thinks that the A-Frame Army works well with the exercise participants.
Most of our people feel very proud to serve KSCs because their KSC service is, in other hand, is greatly contributing the country's defense also.
This morning we're on the river with our 65th Engineer Battalion practicing a river crossing operation, an operation that we don't normally get to conduct on the island of Oahu due to the constraints of not having a river.
An Army can't afford to be slowed down by obstacles such as rough terrain or rivers. It's the job of the 1st Battalion, 27th Infantry Wolfhounds, 25th Infantry Division Light to ensure quick passage. Of course, without cover, a river crossing is very vulnerable. That's where the 71st Chemical Company comes in, obscuring the soldiers from unfriendly eyes. As in most tactical operations, it takes the combined efforts of both ROC and U.S. personnel.
The second stage of Team Spirit area. Ground X tasked both Orange and Blue forces with the crossing, but there's a lot more to it than just driving across.
The only crossing usually seen on this river is the ferry, carrying cars, trucks, pedestrians, and whatnot over the water. Today was a different story. With the help of the 2nd Engineer Battalion and with a few inventive ideas of their own, the Orange team crossed the South Han River. Starting at dawn, companies from the ROC Army briskly rafted over the ripples and immediately began protecting the shoreline from the opposing Blue team. Later, ROC and U.S. engineers built 2 river bridges, one for vehicles and one for individual soldiers. Not only does the bridge erection allow the movement of soldiers and equipment, it gives the combat engineers the opportunity to hone their skills in bridge construction.
And for the new arrivals, which I am one of them, it gives us a chance to sort of feel each other out and know what the platoon, the unit as a whole can do as far as our main mission in bridging.
With the close of the river crossing, the combined ROC U.S. Orange team is safely on the other side, richer in training and experience.
The next to last day of this year's ground exercise got underway early this morning for the Blue Force. It started about 6:30 a.m. when Blue ground troops moved and secured the east bank of the South Han River. That made it possible for Blue Force engineers to safely enter the area and conduct river crossings at numerous locations. The majority of the work was done by ROC engineers. These Korean soldiers worked together to construct both footbridges and bridges for traffic. The move west was also being made at other points along the river as the bridge builders from the 2nd Infantry Division's 2nd Engineer Battalion assisted in getting their Blue Force team members rapidly and safely across the river. In all, it was a team effort as Korean and American soldiers worked toward the same goal, crossing the South Han River. While the east bank of the South Han River saw the majority of the morning's action, it was all a matter of the Blue Force crossing over before the west side was buzzing with movement.
For the second time in as many weeks, the Nam Han River was crossed by participants in this year's exercise. The Blue Force sent elements of their armor battalions through the current near Wonju. The armor column met little resistance as it navigated toward the bank. The company commander of one of the units that crossed says he used one of the few predetermined crossing points and that it was chosen for a reason.
The site is you can see how we can maneuver our med forces around. We've got about 3 or 4 sites to cross. It's trying to give deception plan to different sites. And this was picked because of the water and tactical feasibility of tracks and tanks coming across.
When the tracks once again returned to dry ground, they began moving out and securing new positions along the river.
Moving around hills and water obstacles is not an easy thing to do. When you can't avoid being seen by aircraft flying by, that is really something. The Army has specialists who are experts at providing smoke cover for any size unit in any type of terrain. An Army unit made it possible for the 2nd Engineer Battalion to conceal a bridge for heavy equipment across the South Han River so that soldiers could cross and go on with the training exercise. The chemical company also provided cover of smoke for its ROC Army counterparts, setting up a footbridge. Both ROC and American infantrymen used the rapidly emplaced footbridge.
Sunshine and dust turned to drizzle and mud, but the infantry kept moving across the central region. Both ROC and U.S. ground troops trudged through the rain, pushing Orange Force positions eastward. The missions were simply defined: train together in patrolling techniques and procedures. The military calls it interoperability, and it extends beyond the pure training lines. A 25th Infantry Division medic, Private Jackson Goodman, says this year's exercise is proving great for interfacing with the civilian communities.
Everybody watches us. It's like a movie. It's like a live movie. Everybody watches us, invites us to share food with them, talks to us, and then maybe on our lunchtime we might whip out our little Korean book and try to, talk back and forth. But everybody's been just nice since we got here.
Another Hawaii-based soldier, Private Donald Blackwell, agrees.
It sort of feels pretty good. I mean, the kids run up to you and talk to you, but you don't really understand what they're saying because it's a different language, but it feels pretty good to them being friendly and everything to you.
Commanders are calling this year's exercise challenging, perhaps more challenging than in past years because of the unseasonably warmer temperatures. The Tropic Lightning troops aren't complaining, though. They think the weather's just fine.
When you're at home and you want to know what the forecast is, you tune into your local radio station. But if you're an Army unit in the field, you can't do that. And even if you could, you need more than a forecast that says partly cloudy and a 50% chance of rain. That's where these people come in.
This is the temporary home of the 30th Weather Squadron, and while it's not the sophisticated meteorological center they are used to, it certainly does the trick. 3 times a day, the unit takes in satellite information over their high-frequency facsimile machine. To help them as well, other meteorologists who work with the unit are stationed at distant air wings, and they phone in data too.
We have 3 teams in the field right now, and we support each other. At this location, at the D main, we put out a forecast that we send to the other units and we let them use. They're doing most of the briefing. They're there with the aviators telling them what the weather's going to be when they fly, and we try to tell them what the weather's going to be. And we talk to each other, and with all those minds out in the same place, we get a good forecast, and that's why we've done so well on this exercise.
For Division Weather Officer Captain Robert Fogarty, forecasting is an art as well as a science. It requires a lot of detailed data like the kind recorded hourly by trained weather observer Senior Airman Lance Divians.
Get my sky condition. We're overcast about 12,000 feet without those stratus, mid-layer clouds. Expecting rain probably the next couple hours.
Such detailed weather analysis and data is critical to units in the field, both on the ground and in the air. Fogarty says this year's exercise has been a challenge, but one his unit has worked hard to meet, and that standard is high indeed. Last year, Fogarty says the Tactical Forecasting Unit pulled down the Grimes Award for their hard efforts.
This Korean highway is normally packed with cars and trucks, but it was closed to normal vehicles to make way for some rather unconventional patrons. When you think about flying down the highway, this is not usually what comes to mind. Airplanes usually land at airfields, but when an airfield is no longer available to pilots, substitutions have to be made. A long straight stretch of pavement fits the bill rather nicely. Propeller and jet aircraft from both the U.S. and Republic of Korea practice passovers on the highway. Touch and go, where the craft touches wheels to the runway and goes right back up. And actual landings. Some aircraft are a little better equipped for this than others, like the Marine Harrier light attack aircraft. Because this aircraft can take off and land vertically and from short airstrips or roadways, it can be used in less than ideal areas that are not accessible to conventional aircraft that require longer runways. Naturally, whenever something lands, it takes off again. While the planes were down in this exercise, and because of the unusual location, maintenance and ground crews had an opportunity to practice their skills in the field. ROC and U.S. forces worked together to make sure the skies and planes were safe before the jets took off again. And when a C-130 with fuel bladder landed, the refuel crews proved they could keep them flying no matter where they stopped. For some 4 hours, this road was buzzing with jet and prop aircraft. Incidentally, none of the pilots were required to pay any highway tolls.
You can be sure the next time the Orange Force organizes a tank maneuver, they'll have all eyes looking out for their blue counterparts. That's because this morning the Orange Force lost 2 tanks when it was surprised by blue armored defensive positions located near Wonju. The orange tankers were relocating when 2 blue tanks disabled 2 orange armored vehicles. Since the tanks were disabled, they couldn't move, and that hampered traffic in the area for some time. While the orange and blue armored groups were busy, infantry units from the 2 armies were also conducting movements across a portion of Gyeonggi province. They spent the day exercising various defensive procedures.